he picked the wrong family, and not scared of a conflict, and we're not scared. We're not running. We're coming at him.
Good day, friends. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm Frankie, and welcome to the Think Tank. So I've been watching and noticed that a podcaster from Seattle was unalived by her stalker. So this is just a scary, scary damn situation, and I really wanted to talk to you about it. So I'm going to go by initials because honestly, I cannot do these names justice. So this one here says, podcaster killed by stalker, worried he wouldn't stop unless he killed himself or died. Now it says documents said, but I've been looking for these documents and I'm not coming up with them. So I will continue that search. So this guy was a long-haul truck driver from Houston, Texas. He became obsessed with a software engineer in Washington State after meeting her through a social media chat room. Oh my God. So after stalking them for months, he did eventually unalive them. So it is Zahora, I'm just going to say S, who is 33, her husband, Mohammed Malad N, 35, were unalived in their suburban Seattle home by Raman K, 38. According to the Redmond police, the chief, Daryl Lowe, he said the officers spent a week trying to serve a protection order to K, but had not been able to find him before the unalivings. Jasmine says hi. Of course she does, at least once a video, right? So basically this is, as they're saying, the worst possible outcome for any stalking case. Lowe said at a media briefing on Friday afternoon that his victim, sorry guys, yeah. This is every victim, every detective, every police chief's absolute worst nightmare. In a handwritten statement, the police department said Friday that the suspect began communicating with S after listening to her podcasts. Lowe clarified the two became acquainted because he heard her in an audio chat room on the app Clubhouse. I am not familiar with that app. Where he said she facilitated a discussion for Farsi speakers seeking work in the tech industry. Sorry, I don't know what that is. Farsi speakers. Anybody knows? Do you mind letting me know? So her mother ended up calling the police about 1:45 a.m. after getting out of this house and running to a neighbor's. Arriving officers saw N collapsed in the doorway of the home, pulled him outside. So this is the husband, pulled him outside and discovered that he had been shot. They performed CPR, but he did sadly die at the scene. So K befriended S in an online chat room late in 2021. Oh, wow. Okay. Lowe said they met up in person last summer before the contacts escalated into harassing phone calls and threats in the fall. At one point, he showed up at their home with flowers. OMG. As the stalker's behavior intensified, Redmond police filed a complaint against him for stalking and for telephone harassment on March 2nd, and S&N obtained a protective order the following day. So S wrote in her application for the protection order that K threatened to show up at her home and set it on fire, and left voicemails declaring that he would not stop unless he killed himself or died. Oh my God, this is a problemed guy. So she tried to cut off contact with Kay, but the harassment did continue, did carry on. I think they're saying something like 18 months this maniac did this. So Lowe said at one point the suspect contacted S more than 100 times in a single day. Yeah, that's stable. Not. He stressed that a restraining order is just a piece of paper and it allows police to take action if someone violates it. I will never, ever understand this. But it cannot protect a person when someone is insistent on causing them harm. It is actually just a piece of paper. And I don't know any sicko that would let that piece of paper stop them. Well, I don't know any sickos personally, but I have no reason to believe someone who has a sick mind would pay attention to a piece of paper. So Laura Ruffin of Cupertino, California, said Saturday she worked remotely with S on the same team at promoting writing software to help community banks offer mortgages. They never met in person. S spent the last few months of her life looking for a new job, but she had just found one and reached out to Ruffin on the Thursday night asking if she could be a reference. Ruffin called her collaborative, well-organized, and helpful. She got on with everybody in the team. So N was working at an Amazon job since January 2022, and he said in his blog that he was growing up in Iran. He was ranked one of the second best singer in Tehran in 2007 before he went on to study at the Sharif University of Technology. The couple got married in 2011 after moving into the US. While most of N's posts were about work in technology, he wrote last October to condemn the death of a 16-year-old girl amid the protests in Iran about the treatment of women after the death of a 22-year-old woman who had been detained by the country's morality police. Wow. Just twisted, sick, and wrong. Sounds like he literally climbed up to the second floor and got in through the room.
3 people now dead, a husband and wife, and the man who pulled the trigger. Redmond police say the wife ran a podcast, and that's how her alleged stalker knew her.
We may never know why they would do this.
On a quiet residential street in Redmond, gunfire erupts overnight. 3 people now dead after a potential stalker breaks into this home.
They said that he was stalking her, so there's certainly been a history.
Redmond police say the shooter is a 38-year-old truck driver from Texas. He had a no-contact order filed against him from the woman living here.
This is just a tragic situation that we don't often see that in Redmond.
Her mom was the one who called 911. She managed to escape and run for help.
He had an altercation with the mother. Sounds like he shoved her, and then she was able to escape to the neighbors.
Her 35-year-old husband, shot in the chest, found dead on the front lawn.
This is just a really unfortunate event that happened, and I'm not sure what could make someone do that, to be honest.
As for the extent of the relationship between the suspect and the wife, police say it started after he discovered her podcast. We don't know if they ever met in person, but Redmond police say this is a good reminder that you never know who you're connecting with online. In Redmond, Hannah Knowles, Como News.
So yeah, you never do know who you're meeting online, guys. So be extremely careful. Be extremely careful. Okay, we're going to take a quick look over here. Yeah, always cover your butt. The only person that can really keep us safe is ourselves.
Razahi, who then turned the weapon on himself.
This is every victim, every detective, every police chief's worst nightmare.
Chief Daryl Lowe says just before 2 a.m., officers rushed to this Redmond neighborhood after receiving reports of shots fired. The couple at this home police before, back in December and again in mid-January, to report that the wife was being stalked.
In report, she reported over 100 contacts in a single day.
The couple had filed for a temporary protection order against Ramin because he had reportedly listened to Zore's podcast and been communicating with her. But police say it escalated, with him repeatedly calling her husband, even after she asked him not to. Within these pages, it states that he would leave voice messages in the night. In one call, he was reportedly crying, begging her to pick up and threatening to burn himself and the tree in front of her house. She also stated that he said many times that nothing short of his own death would make him leave her alone.
I've been briefed on the case earlier this week by our investigators.
Chief Lowe says those investigators were working to serve a protection order, but tracking down the suspect who lived out of state proved to be difficult.
In this case, the victim did everything that they possibly could. Unfortunately, this person broke into their home and killed her, and it is a tragic event.
It absolutely is. I have not been able to find that paperwork, but as soon as I do, if there's anything unexpected, I'll go through it with you. So we know that he was a long haul truck driver from Texas, and that he did manage to break into that house and unalive them. It was her mother that was able to get out and run across the street. Wow. So it says her mother called police about 1:45 a.m., which we learned earlier. Arriving officers seen N collapsed in the doorway of the home, pulled him outside, discovered he'd been shot, Lowe said. And they performed CPR, but as we learned earlier, he did not make it. So it says here that S wrote in her application for the protection order that K threatened to show up at her home and set it on fire, and left voicemails declaring that he wouldn't stop. And saying in here, no matter how she tried to get away from him, the harassment continued. She did contact the police in January, but that piece of paper doesn't stop anybody, which they were not able to serve. It makes me nervous that he was literally 100 times a day calling this poor woman. And there he is there. So we do know that the last thing he wrote last October, I don't think it was the last thing he wrote, but something that he wrote last October to condemn the death of the 16-year-old girl among the protests in Iran about the treatment of women after the death of a 22-year-old who had been detained by the country's morality police. Morality police, what the hell is that? So very sad, you guys. This person did not have a chance if he was coming through her window in the middle of the night. It's extremely sad, but I'm glad that the mother got away safely and was able to get, law enforcement to that house before he could have possibly done anything else. At that point, I don't think she knew that he had unalived himself. So get help to those family members, the daughter and her husband. And sadly, what he did was fatal. So guys, thank you very much for hanging out with me. I did want to share this with you. It's just distressing. People think that they're falling in love with voices or faces on these platforms. Anybody who's doing content, we're no different than anybody else. And even though she might have agreed with some of the things he possibly said or vice versa, in reality, they did not know each other. And 100 phone calls a day, I'm thinking, yeah, I'd be, I don't know, getting ready for a fight, sleeping with one eye open. So again, thank you very much for spending the time with me. I could, at the end of these, I'm never quite sure how to end them, as you can probably tell. So on that note, thanks again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.